Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to call the May 12th, 2020 regular school board meeting to order today. The first item is to accept our agenda. Madam Superintendent, are there any revisions to the agenda as printed?
We have no revisions today.
Okay. Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the agenda for May 12th, 2020 as printed. Ms. Fields made the motion. And I need a second. Ms. Miller seconded. So I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion, board members? Ms. Fortney?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Mr. Townsend?
Did we not add the item related to emergency authority if there are no changes?
Yes, sir, we did. It'll be coming up under Wes's report. Yes, sir.
Okay, is that not a change? I just for the sake of.
What do you mean, is it not a change?
It is a revision to the agenda.
Pardon? It's not an agended item, so it's not a revision to the agenda. No,
Oh,
sir. He's going to
no.
bring it in his report, so it doesn't require a revision. No, sir. We're
Okay,
just
like,
adding it up under his report to be voted
Right.
upon.
All right. Well, okay, that's fine. Wes just said it was. I don't really care. I'm just trying to be legal. So
Okay.
whatever.
All righty.
Forget it.
We'll take care of it. Okay. We have a motion and a second. I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, I would like to ask board member Sara Beth Reynolds to give our invocation today. Ms. Reynolds?
Please bow your heads. Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for the opportunity to serve the children of our community. We ask for comfort for our neighbors suffering from COVID-19 and job losses. We pray for our community as a whole as we move forward together into this new normal. Lord, give us wisdom and guidance as we make critical decisions regarding the future of our organization in the days to come. Help us to remember that you are in control. Thank you for the incredible resource you have given us and our staff. Help us to draw from their expertise as we look for ways to serve the students and families of this district. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Ms. Reynolds. Next, we have our Pledge of Allegiance, and I would like to ask board member Lisa Miller to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And for those who can stand, please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all. Thank you so much, Mrs. Miller. And everyone, please be seated. The next item on our agenda this evening is the special recognitions. Mrs. Bird, would you lead us through our special recognitions today?
I would. We have one. Ms. Reynolds, will you please read the proclamation for the Arts in Our Schools Month?
Yes, thank you. Whereas Polk County Public Schools believes that the arts, dance, music, theater, and visual arts hold transformative potential for all students. And whereas the purpose of Arts in Our Schools Month is to raise awareness of the importance of arts education for all children and to remind citizens that schools are where all children should have access to the arts. And whereas the study of arts is basic to a complete education, provides a competitive edge for successful educational reform, engages students in individual and group activity, develops creativity, problem solving, and critical and evaluative skills. And whereas arts education in the schools includes a broad range of types of arts and active arts experiences and helps students acquire skills in production and performance of arts, as well as the understanding of history and culture. And whereas it is the mission of Polk County Public Schools to provide high quality education for all students in order to prepare children for a productive role in society. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the School Board of Polk County, Florida proclaims April 2020 as Arts in Our Schools Month and supports the purpose and practices of arts education and encourages teachers, parents, students, and all citizens to participate. the School Board of Polk County, Florida, rededicates itself to the maintenance of a quality arts education program that will be relevant to the needs of the children placed in its care and will reach and positively influence each child. Dated the 17th day of March, 2020 by the School Board of Polk County.
Thank you. And this concludes our special recognitions for this month.
Thank you so much, Madam Superintendent. The next item on our agenda is public comments on agenda items. And at this time, I would like to ask Mrs. Warbington, is there anyone that has submitted comments regarding an item on the regular agenda today?
No, ma'am, not today.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have approval of the minutes. Board members, we have two sets of minutes today. The first set of minutes is for the April 28th, 2020 school board meeting. The chair will entertain a motion to accept the April 28th, 2020 school board meeting minutes as printed. I need a motion.
Move to
Mrs.
approve.
Fortney?
Move to approve.
Okay, and a second. Ms. Miller, I think your hand was up. Any discussion, board members? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. The motion carries unanimously. The second set of minutes is for the April 28th, 2020 work session. The chair will entertain a motion to accept the April 28th, 2020 work session minutes as printed. Do I have a motion? Ms. Reynolds, and a second, Ms. Fortney. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. The next item is the approval of the consent agenda for May 12th, 2020. The chair will entertain a motion to accept the May 12th, 2020 consent agenda as printed. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Miller is motion and Ms. Reynolds is a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. The next item is our new administrator announcements. Mrs. Byrd, do we have any announcements today?
Yes, we do. We have one. I am pleased to announce Melody Davis, Assistant Principal of Curriculum for Frostproof Middle Senior. That concludes our new administrator for this month. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Byrd. Next, we come to our regular agenda. Number one, under Business Services General Items, we have item number 17, bid recommendation for external independent auditing services. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the recommendation for bid file number 043 PLA 0420 external independent auditing services to Clifton Larson Allen LLP. And at this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Matthews if she'd like to say a few words about this.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Okay. All right. So this is for a recommendation for a bid award for the external auditing services for the district audit. You'll recall that the school board established an auditor selection committee pursuant to Florida statute 218.391 on March 17th of 2020 to assist the school board in selecting an auditor to conduct the annual financial audit of the district. The committee was comprised of school board member Sara Fortney and Polk County School Board Audit and Finance Committee members Travis Keys and Darlene Innett. The committee met via video conference on April 17th of 2020 to evaluate the firms that responded to the RFP. Clifton Larson Allen is the firm that received the highest score from the committee and is being recommended to you today for approval of the bid award.
Thank you, Ms. Matthews. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
So is there any discussion by the board members? Seeing none, I'd like to go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion, yeah.
All those opposed,
We did?
like sign. Yes, sir, we did have a motion and a second.
I apologize.
All those please signify by saying aye again. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
I did have an item for discussion. I just wanted to thank the committee, especially Ms. Matthews, but apparently my hand didn't show up.
Sorry. It's
That's
really
okay.
hard to.
No big deal. I did it in the work
Yeah.
session, so.
Okay, thank you. And I also wanted to say thank you to you, Ms. Fortney, for being gracious as our school board liaison to that you chaired that committee meeting in order to make this move forward. So thanks for your time as you took care of this for us. So we appreciate it, and to the other committee members as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so
Learning
much.
experience.
Ms. Fields.
I just wanted to commend the selection of Clifton, Lawson, and Allen. It's nice to see a local company that's being given the business. So great job to the selection committee.
Thank you, Mrs. Fields. Okay, our next item is item number 8, authorization for 2020-2021. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the authorization for superintendent to approve contracts, bid awards, and other financial documents as needed between school board meetings. Do I have a motion? Ms. Reynolds, and a second?
Second.
Mr. Townsend? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to, oops, hold on.
Yeah, I just wanted to note for the public, we're going to be voting on 2 emergency response authorizations tonight. This one is very specific to seasonal hurricane type things. It's very prescribed in what can be done. The other one is the larger COVID emergency authorization, which we'll be voting to renew tonight. They're one's much broader than the other, just so the public understands why we're voting on 2 different ones.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Townsend. So at this point, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, like sign. The motion carries unanimously. The next item, item number 19, is Resolution 2019-2020-13, Hurricane Tropical Storm Emergency Fuel. The chair will entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2019-2020-13, waiving the bidding process for the purpose of fuel in the event of a hurricane tropical storm in our geographical vicinity. Do I have a motion? Ms. Fields, second. Mr. Wilson, any further discussion? Okay. Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. The next item is item number 20, CTE Instructional Material Adoption Request for public review. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the public review of instructional materials for adoption for the 2020-2021 school year. Do I have a motion? Ms. Fields, and a second. Ms. Reynolds, is there any discussion? Ms. Reynolds.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham. I just wanted to highlight that this is for us to advertise what they're looking to change to. That I am very hopeful that we'll get some good feedback, particularly from our business community, as to what we're looking to move to for several of these CTE courses, because that I think is probably one of the most important components of CTE courses, is that we're truly preparing these kids for the workforce. So I'm very hopeful that some of our business partners will give us some feedback as to whether or not what we're looking at is what they're using when they take our kids into their workforce. So specifically for the business partners, but for anybody interested, it'll be on our website.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Mrs. Reynolds. And I believe it's going to be out there for 20 days, if I read that correctly. So if our business partners in the community are watching tonight, please take a moment to look through those and make any suggestions that you might have as we move forward. So thank you so much. Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Hands up. Love it. Thank you. Those opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. Next, under Facilities and Operations Contract Changes, Property Management, we have item number 21, Haines City Head Start Program lease. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the termination of the lease agreement. Do I have a motion? Ms. Reynolds, and a second, Ms. Miller. Any discussion? Ms. Reynolds.
Thank you. I just want to commend Angela and her staff and facilities that we're not just terminating a lease because we're terminating a program. They're looking to move it to a facility that we can own, and that way we don't have to continue leasing the property. So thanks for the innovation and looking at ways that we can save money moving forward.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds. Very well said. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. The motion carries unanimously. Under Human Resource Services Annual Items, we have item number 22, settlement of the 2019-2020 teacher salary and contract negotiations between the Polk Education Association Incorporated and the Polk County School District. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the revised 2020-2021 school calendar reflecting teacher self-directed planning time use on 6 of the 7 student early dismissal days. Do I have a motion? Ms. Fortney, and a second. Ms. Fields, is there any discussion? Seeing none, we have one. Just a moment. Ms. Fortney.
I want to thank HR, PEA. Giving time back is the most important thing to our teachers. It keeps the stress level down. Let's just hope it all gets followed through at the school site. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Ms. Fortney. Any other discussion items? If not, I would like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. The motion carries unanimously. The next item is our superintendent's report. Mrs. Bird, do you have an update for us today?
I do. I would like to begin by noticing the next virtual work session will begin at 1 p.m. and following the board meeting at 5 p.m. and that will be held on June 16, 2020. Also, to give an update regarding our COVID, couple of things that I noticed the board about was that we're going to have a mobile site in 2 of the areas. That's what we've been working on with the Central Florida Healthcare. One is going to be at 1797 7th Street Northeast in Winter Haven. That's Lake Maud area. It's going to be a mobile site. That's going to be starting on Friday, May 15th from 1 to 4. Also, there's going to be one that's going to be housed at Westwood Middle. And these are free testing sites. Some of the questions that we received was, do they have to be directed by a doctor or anyone can drive up to the site? No doctor orders required. The Central Florida Health Clinic will do the screening. Is it only for people experiencing symptoms of COVID-19 or can anyone get tested? The testing is for anyone experiencing symptoms outlined in the CDC guidelines. If you need to know what type of ID, they said none. It's a simple, short registration form with their contact information. Also, just to continue, let you know, our distance learning is continuing, and we're still making sure that we continue our distance learning with our schools. Our graduation for this year will be taking place at Joker Marchant Stadium, better known as Tiger Town to many. Detroit Tigers and the city of Lakeland, and along with the health department, we all came together. Our students, we heard that they did not want a virtual graduation. They did want to have something very similar or as close as we can get to a traditional graduation where they will actually get to walk and receive their diploma. After we went through all the guidelines and made sure that we covered everything, working with the owners, the general managers, the city of Lakeland, Detroit Tigers, public health department, we have cleared it where our students will be able to have a graduation starting on June 6th and going every day until June 20th to get our students graduated. Students, I want to make sure that you know we got questions. Do I have to wear my mask when I am taking my pictures? The answer is no. We want you to make sure that you take your pictures with your principal and everything. We're going to be doing social distancing, but you will not have to put on a mask. Also, graduation is voluntary this year because of the circumstance. Schools has stressed that. We'll continue to stress it. And for any of our parents, community, seniors, we would like to say to you, you are not required to attend. It is voluntary. However, if you are ill, please, we stress that you stay home and not attend at that point. We will have all the guidelines. We're taking temperature checks for both the graduates and the guests that will be entering. Also, they'll be entering through a metal detector. So I will have to say to the community, please make sure if you're bringing a lot of bags, you make sure you can speed up the process of getting through by limiting those bags. We look forward to the graduations this year. It's going to be a great year. A lot of excitement already with the principals. And, we're just looking forward to at least giving our students something that we can give them. That concludes my report for this day, and is also my update. Thank you.
And Madam Superintendent, did we need to announce the May 26th? If you would be so kind.
Yes, we will actually have another COVID update on May 26th, and we'll begin at 1, and we'll send everyone out the Zoom invite for that meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Superintendent.
Thank
I get
you.
you and me mixed up here. We do have comments. Mrs. Fortney.
Yes. First, I want to shout out to Superintendent Byrd for working with Congressman Soto. I know that the Westwood location worked out. Leah West is a good friend of mine, and she was just thrilled to be able to do that. The second thing is I've, as usual, even with the RP Funding Center on graduation, the limit of 4 tickets. If you could maybe explain that a little better and why we're not doing it alphabetically, like breaking down the groups so more people could attend. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the question. So when we work with the Detroit Tigers and the owners and making sure that we do social distancing, they're going to actually assign the seats like they would normally. You would purchase a ticket for a game. So they're going to assign the seats. So given the 4 tickets to make sure that we can do social distancing, and they're going to actually sanitize those areas after each one. And we also want them to have to keep in mind that Major League Baseball spring training, they're going to start that up. I believe they told me sometime in June. So they want to make sure that they had certain sections that they're going to utilize in that stadium so that they can continue. So we're doing the 4 tickets at that point, and we're going to make sure we get the students in and we get them out very safely. Thank you for the questions.
Okay, Mr. Townsend.
A couple of things. I wanted to, can you say what the actual what is the last day of school going to be this year? I mean, are we fully locked in on that?
Yes, we are. Our last day of school is going to be our normal last day.
Okay. We're not going to ask for any kind of waiver, or there's not going to be requirements for weather days or anything like that.
No, we do not.
Okay. Secondly, I guess I'll just go ahead and do this now. Well, can I share my screen real quick? I want to show something related to the progress of COVID.
Well,
hold on a second.
Mr. Townsend, could you wait and do whatever you're going to do underneath your report, unless you have a question for her, so we can keep it moving? Because I have several other board members that want to make comments.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Miller.
Regarding the graduations, can we talk a little bit about the seats will be assigned, but you don't get to choose your seat like you would at a baseball game. They're going to be assigned by numbers already. And it's a lot. almost like a lottery, I guess, and where you'll be sitting as far as what's available. Right. And then the temperature taking and the police presence is a combination effort between the Detroit and the city of Lakeland team members. Can you talk a little bit about how that'll look? For the small schools, it won't be a big deal, but I've had community concern about pushing through a couple of thousand people in that setting.
Right, so I can tell you that they're going to be doing temperature checks. We're also utilizing some of our staff, our LPNs. They wanted to come and assist our students when Dr. Stanky reached out. So we're going to have them to help move the crowds as quickly as we can. LPD, Lakeland Police Department, has volunteered their team, as well as some of our sheriff deputies will be there. Some of our guardians will be there. So we have a lot of people that we feel like is going to move the crowd through very quickly as they come in. That's why we don't want them to bring a lot of large bags in, because that's when it slows up, as if it would in any normal event when you go through, because you have to do the bag check. So once you can get through the metal detector, they're going to have tents. So if you screen and your temperature is up, they're going to let you go to a tent, sit for a few moments. What they said, they'll recheck you, and then if you clear it, you'll go in. If you do not clear a temperature check, they're not going to allow you in. They're going to have, like I said, they have EMTs, LPNs will be there, and we'll have the police presence to make sure we move the crowds through very quickly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. Any other discussion? Well, thank you, Mrs. Bird. We appreciate that wonderful update. The next item we have is our attorney's report, which will be given today by Mr. Bridges.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Am I live?
Yes,
you can hear me. Okay, thank you. The first item is I need to ask you to find cause to add to the agenda the renewal of Resolution 2019-2020-12, temporary suspension of school board policies during certain emergencies. And if you will simply indicate you have approved that, and you may entertain a motion to that end.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bridges. The chair will entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2019-2020-12, temporary suspension of school board policies during certain emergencies until the next meeting of the School Board of Polk County. Do I have a motion? Mr. Townsend, do I have a second? Ms. Fortney, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
Mr. Townsend?
Yeah, I was just going to explain. I mean, the title of this resolution sort of says why we're voting on it continually. It is the emergency suspension of school board policies. That's a pretty big suspension. And so I think it behooves us as elected officials just to vote on it each time, because it's pretty extraordinary authority, and the public elected us to do oversight and do our jobs as school board members. So I think we'll get into a good rhythm of having updates on a situation that's going to be fluid, and that's why we're doing this. So thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Ms. Fields?
Is this the resolution that we were talking about earlier?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. When we had our last school board meeting, this was brought up as an item of discussion, and I believe Ms. Miller had referenced that the policy that it relates to the superintendent's authority was already in place, and this was just basically reiterating that. And then there was conversation about the need to have weekly COVID-19 meetings. And I said at that time I could not support weekly meetings, but I would be willing to do the bi-weekly meetings. And after the discussion, we agreed to do that. And then we voted on it. And I apologize, I was not understanding that this would have to come before us every time we had a meeting. I don't understand why, because the superintendent has been providing COVID-19 meetings, COVID-19 updates every week. And so I thought that when we approved this resolution, the last meeting, that it was automatically understood that every 2 weeks she would be doing the same thing. So we'd be having a COVID-19 meeting every 2 weeks. So I'm not understanding why we're having to bring this back every time. We've given direction to the superintendent. She is responsible enough to know that this is something that the board agreed on. And I think it is basically micromanaging her duties as a superintendent of schools. I would not be supporting this. Again, make sure this goes on record because things can sometimes get twisted. I don't have a problem having a COVID-19 update every 2 weeks. I have a problem there. Every week, the superintendent provides us with a written update, COVID-19. The problem that I have is every time we have a meeting, we've got to rehash this every time. And I don't think that we should have to.
Okay, any further discussion? Hold on. Mr. Townsend?
I just want to reiterate what this resolution actually does. It suspends board power. It suspends our policies. I mean, can you read the title of it again?
Yes, of course. Hang on. The motion is to approve Resolution 1920-12, temporary suspension of school board policies during certain emergencies until the next meeting of the School Board of Polk County.
Right. It's a comprehensive grant of authority from the elected school board to the unelected staff, which is fine. There's nothing sinister about it. It's just important that we revisit it. I believe the city of Lakeland votes on this every time they meet. It's because there's an emergency authority for city manager there as well. I'm just not inclined to give up the authority that the people vested in me indefinitely. I just want to have the ability to vote on that, and that's I thought I made that clear last week, and that everybody voted for it. There doesn't have to be any rehashing. We just have to vote on it each week. So we don't have to have this discussion. I just want the public to understand why.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Ms. Fields?
And you're absolutely right. We don't have to have this discussion every time, but just like you have a right for your opinion, I have a right for mine. And I'm going to speak my mind just like you're going to speak yours. I just want to make sure that it's understood because, again, things get twisted. I don't want anybody to go out and say that I am trying to relinquish my duties as a school board member. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying, I don't think we need to rehash this every time. There should be some way to put this in language so we can say, until we get past this pandemic, we're going to have biweekly COVID-19 meetings, and then the superintendent still has the authority that she already has through policy. It's already in place, nothing different. But I'm not going to be back and forth with this. We can do the voting now.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor of the resolution that I just mentioned, please signify by saying aye, but I guess put your hands up. I need hands up so I can read. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And those opposed, signify by nay or put your hands up. 1. So the motion carries 6-1.
Second item, I've been authority to advertise a public hearing for the student progression plan to be held at the June 16 school board meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the request to advertise a public hearing on the student progression plan for the June 16th, 2020 school board meeting. Do I have a motion? Ms. Reynolds, a second? Ms. Fields, any discussion? There is one. Ms. Fortney.
I'm not going to waste everybody's time because I made my comments in the work session, but I realize this is just to publish it, and I encourage people to read it and comment feel free to call me, email me, private message me, whatever your feelings are, because I believe that the majority of folks agree with what I said in the work session. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fortney. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, or raise a hand. Those opposed, nay. All the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Bridges.
Madam Chair, I have just been asked to request authority to advertise a public hearing on the policies provided today for the first reading to be held at the June 16 board meeting. And I
So-
apologize, that just came in.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the request to advertise a public hearing on the Polk County School District policies as discussed today in work session for the June 16th, 2020 board meeting. Do I have a motion? Ms. Fields, in a second? Mr. Wilson, is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, hold on. Ms. Fortney.
Again, I want to encourage folks to look at the work session and have their input and their voices heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fortney. Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Bridges. I think we're good.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
The next item would be on our agenda would be our auditor's report, but there is no report today. Mrs. Matthews had her item under our regular agenda earlier. Okay, next we come to our board member reports. Mr. Townsend?
Here, let me first ask something, and this might be able to be something we address at the next meeting. I've heard a number of reports of people who are sort of stuck in certification limbo to some degree. They can't take tests because the tests have been canceled. Do we have any? Can we collect the names of everybody who's kind of in certification limbo of one kind or another? And I think there are a lot of them, and kind of work on communicating with them about what's going to happen. A number of them have come to me asking, "Is this going to be waived? What are the?" So, can we maybe take a step on that and try to come up with a unified policy on how we're going to deal with that and what the state is saying about what the sort of certification requirements are going to be? I mean, I would hate to lose teachers that we need because their tests got canceled because of all of this. So.
Sure.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Madam Superintendent, do you have a comment on that?
Yes, Ms. Porteous is on, and Madam Chair, we sent information in one of my updates regarding certification, but Ms. Porteous is on. She can address it.
Okay.
Good afternoon. So from what we've been told from the state, certification tests have been canceled by Pearson for the year. So that means that a lot of people that were waiting to take their various certification tests are not able to do that. So what we know right now is they will be rescheduled, hopefully, or I'm sorry, the certification will be waived through at least December of this year, I think, from what we've been told. And then I know that another school district, a very large school district to our south, is advocating that the certification requirements are waived through the rest of next year. So through June of 2021. We've not yet been told that has been written or waived. However, when we do get some response on that from the state, we'll certainly let our teachers know. Okay. And that's what we've been telling teachers that have contacted us, is just kind of wait and see. We're not, at this time, we are not necessarily terminating any teachers. We've told principals just to wait on that. Particularly until July 31st of this year. And then hopefully we'll get more stuff in writing. What we don't want to do is say that, yes, we've waived it and the state hasn't yet waived it. And so that's what I'm waiting on, just official word from the state, because everything that I've received at this point has been unofficial, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. That December date isn't written down in stone yet. That's just what
it's just what we're advocating. Correct. Yes, that's what we're asking for. And hopefully Mr. Townsend and all the board members, hopefully what will happen is that the state will extend it through June of 2021. And that will give everyone a full year. So when Pearson does come back on and they start to retest, then that will allow everyone time to schedule the test and study for the test, et cetera.
Okay, good. I think that's a very helpful update. Thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. So I wanted again, I want to share my screen real quick, just to kind of related to the graduation issue. So bear with me.
While you're doing that, Ms. Fortney, did you have something to add to the previous comment?
Yes, I did, Ms. Cunningham. Thank
Go
you
ahead.
so much.
Thank
While
you.
we're waiting, yeah, I want to thank Tedra personally, because every single person who has emailed me or I've asked about, she has responded, and they may not like the answer, but she is on it. And we don't want to get anybody in trouble as far as that. And I do appreciate Ms. Porteous's dedication to that, because it has helped me a lot communicate with our instructors. Thank you, Tedra.
Thank you, Ms. Fortney. Go ahead, Mr. Townsend.
I want to second that. Thank you, Sarah, for saying that. I think staff has done a very good job throughout all of this, and I think Ms. Porteous particularly, I think has done a really nice job communicating. So good job. So can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Do you see? Okay. Do you see these graphs? This is Florida's nursing home COVID rate, both of positive residents and of positive staff as of May, I believe it's May 9th. Yeah, as you can see in nursing homes and in assisted living facilities, the curve hasn't bent at all. It's just going up steadily. Now, this is not a reason not to do the graduation in and of itself. But one of the things I wanted to talk to Dr. Jackson about, I wanted to ask her about these graphs. These come from the state itself. You know, I'm down on the state's quality of data as a general rule, but this comes from the state itself. You know, in Polk County, we've had one of the 3 or 4 worst nursing home infections. And what happens is you know, primarily a worker, maybe a family member will get into one with the virus, despite the virus, you know, despite all the protections, and then it kind of moves through the nursing homes and causes lots and lots of terrible damage. And this is happening, you know, pretty steadily throughout the state. And one of the things that has always concerned me from the beginning of this, and this is one of the first things I said to the superintendent back in February, I think, is how many of our public school parents are also healthcare providers in long-term care facilities or in hospitals, et cetera. So I think this graph is really important for both sides of this issue, and I expect there to be criticism and praise from both sides of this issue. You know, I already got an email from somebody from Harrison concerned that there's only four tickets and somehow that's unfair. You know, I think there's probably going to be. We are requiring all the guests to wear masks, right? I mean the kids could take their masks off when they get the pictures done, but we're requiring masks for entry, right? That's correct.
That's correct. That was
Okay.
in the last update as well.
Yeah. No, that's. I mean, I think there's a possibility for this to be a model of how to govern responsibly and treat each other responsibly in a situation that does come with some risk. I just want to be clear to the public, and I think we need to be clear to ourselves as elected officials. We can't sit here and say there's no risk in having this ceremony. I believe it's going to be the first of its kind, certainly in Florida. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think this is going to be the first mass gathering really of any kind. And you know, we can really set the tone for it. I think it was very smart to have the health department and the city and law enforcement involved. I think the temperature checks, the masks, set a kind of civic example for how we should behave, and I think that's got potential to be helpful, not just for graduation, but in the months and weeks to come, and make this a little bit more, a little bit less divisive, hopefully. And that's what I'd like to talk to Dr. Jackson about a little bit, is the psychology of this. If you read pandemic accounts, psychology plays a major role. If you read the accounts of Florida, us closing the schools when we did 2 weeks before any stay-at-home order seems to have had a major psychological effect in keeping people from mixing as much as they would have, and it sent a marker that this was a serious thing, and it probably saved a lot of lives. I just want us to be careful that we don't cause a problem here, and I also don't want us to be dishonest. I think we can expect these numbers to continue to go up, and what I worry about is parents or loved ones, whoever, who work inside nursing homes or work inside assisted living facilities. One of the things I asked is, should we ask them not to come? And what Dr. Jackson said is no, and I'm fine with accepting that, because it's unfair. I mean, our healthcare workers are already being abused in a lot of ways. There are a lot of balances to these things, and I just don't want us to be glib about it. This could be a model for behaving, moving ahead. It's going to be really important that we execute it well. And I would really like for Dr. Jackson to come to the next meeting and just talk a little bit about where we are, because 2 weeks from now, things may look a little different, because we're doing the whole reopening thing. And it would behoove us to have that conversation with her. I know she's had conversations with the city commission, and I believe the Polk County Commission as well. I think the public would probably get a sense of comfort from seeing that, and so I'm going to renew my request for that. And I really just wanted people to look at that graph. This killed the mother of one of our teachers very recently. Someone that several of us on this board know. It's not a joke. It's a serious thing. And of course, we're not treating it as a joke, which I'm very pleased with. We're being very, very serious about our measures, but there are trade-offs, and I just want us to be honest about them. So that's really all I have to say about it.
Okay, does that conclude your report, Mr.
Yes.
Townsend?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's see, Ms. Fortney.
Hello. I'll be brief. I want to again reach out to those that are watching the board meeting to make sure you watch the work session. There was a lot talked about, very important, concerning the staffing the staffing plan, and many other things. I'm just going to continue to advocate for the same things I have been advocating for. I do not want us to succumb to a test and punish for the 2021 school year. I think that's totally unfair to our staff and our students and our parents. I want to impress upon our legislative leaders, Representative Bell, Representative Killebrew, Tom Cow, all of you, Senator Albritton, Senator Stargell, to keep the 2021 state budget intact. It will drown us. Please don't balance that budget on the backs of our districts like it was done in 2008, that we have not even climbed out of that hole yet. I'm going to beg Congressman Soto, since he's the one I know, to have a federal bailout to keep our local school districts alive and healthy. We are part of the economy, a big part in Polk County, and they need to look at that. To our frontline workers, which include our healthcare workers, our parents that are trying to teach kids and teach and work in emergency rooms and grocery stores. Bravo. Thank you so much. It's not perfect, but it just goes to show that our staff always does the best they can do with what we have to work with, as usual. Because my tagline, I'm going to end with it tonight: pre-K through 12th grade public schools, just do it better. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fortney. Very well said. Ms. Reynolds.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham. I have mine typed out because that's a little bit longer of a list than usual. But I think I have more thank yous tonight than anything else. First, I want to start with thanking our IT staff, Tina and the team. They have worked incredibly hard over the past 2 months now. I don't think we realized how critical our IT department was until about 7.5 weeks ago. But we thank you so much for all that you're doing. Typically behind the scenes that we don't always know that you're there, but it has been very obvious with the smooth transition over the past couple months that you guys have been working incredibly hard. And we thank you for ironing out the kinks a lot of times before we even realized that they were happening. Second is to the payroll team. I emailed Mike Perrone and Dana Torres earlier, but I was a little bit hesitant when they presented at our meeting last month or 2 weeks ago about transitioning to the bi-weekly or bi-monthly payroll, mainly because there was going to be a missed half of a month in there for certain options. I was a little bit concerned that we would have people clicking and selecting to go to bi-monthly, not realizing what they were selecting, and have a lot of very angry and upset people about halfway through August when they realized that they were missing half of a paycheck. And I filled mine out this week. I got an email back a few hours later confirming that that was my response, which was incredibly well laid out. It was specific for 12-month employees. This is when your missed paycheck will be. We just want to confirm that you're going to have enough money to pay your bills in August, that we want to make sure you know what you're signing up for. When I emailed them the thanks and kudos, he responded back that anyone that is not responding to that email, that they are also doing personal phone calls to make sure that they understand what they're signing up for. So I just want to give kudos to the payroll department for going above and beyond to make sure that that is implemented seamlessly and that people understand what the transition could mean for their families. Next is Superintendent Byrd. The very first thing you told me in a call the week after we closed schools was your desire to give seniors everything we could to celebrate their accomplishments. As the weeks have gone on, you have been forced to cancel more and more huge accomplishments for safety, which we obviously realize is important. But while districts and individual schools around us were canceling graduations and moving them to virtual platforms, you were determined to let our students have a voice. You allowed our team to be innovative, and I think we have come out with a huge win for our district. While limiting the tickets and masks are not ideal, our students are getting the ceremony that many of their peers dreamed of and will not have. So thank you for your unending dedication to our students. On that note, I would also like to thank Joy Jackson and the Department of Health for stepping up to help us with graduations. They have a lot going on at the Department of Health right now, and I would imagine that seniors graduating are probably not their top priority, but they have made it so, and they have made all of our seniors feel incredibly important and loved. Next is, and I'm gonna get her last name wrong, so I'm really, really sorry, Jenna, but Jenna Kazmarski and the nutrition teams. They have been serving our kids lunches every single day. They are there at the crack of dawn. Those bags are huge, and it's completely different from what they've been doing before. It's not your typical chicken sandwiches. It's all grab and go style items, but they have not complained once in stepping in to fill the void for our kids. A couple exciting upcoming things. I mentioned last meeting that the academies were looking at doing some virtual learning with their students and connecting business partners to some of our academy students. That survey went out last week. If there's anyone who has not received it that is interested in partaking, please send me an email and I will make sure we get you signed up. As it went out, however, Polk Vision contacted us to say, hey, the college and higher education work group's doing a very similar thing. So we are now partnering with Polk Vision, and Polk Vision is going to help us align with the college and higher education work group so that it will not just be Polk County public school students in there, but it will also be available to college students, which will give us a few more business partners to engage with, and it'll also give some of our conversations a little bit more robust questions to be answered. And they're recording all of these so that they'll be in a library for us to use for years to come, specifically in our CTE classes and our classes for kids looking at what careers they're interested in. So kudos to the Academies Department and Polk Vision for setting that up for us during this time. Next on my list is a thank you for Danny Higgins. She is our migrant liaison, and a couple of weeks ago it came to her attention that all of these food pantries are happening, but a lot of her families cannot get to them because it's during the day and they don't have cars. So she has been recruiting community members to go to the food banks with her to help pick up items for families that she can then distribute to families when they're home outside of it, which is incredibly innovative, and a huge thanks to her. Jewett School of the Arts had a parade last Friday, which they thought was the teachers having a parade for the students. As they're a magnet school, they don't necessarily have a small zone where they could just drive through their neighborhoods that are zoned to their school. So they decided that all of their teachers would line up socially distanced on the drive-through pickup car line bus route so that their kids could drive through and see them. Well, their PTA president found out about this and decided to turn the tables a little bit. So while they thought they were there to cheer on their students actually came. There were about 150 cars lined up at the church down the street. So 30 minutes into their parade, they had fire trucks and all sorts of sirens that came, and every single car had a teacher's name on it with posters thanking their teachers and wishing them an incredible Teacher Appreciation Week. They had gifts for their teachers. A couple of the cars had people handing out candy from the trunks, and it was really exciting to see. The teachers, I think, were completely shocked that they had that great of a turnout until they realized what was actually happening. Also at JSA this coming weekend, Junior League of Greater Winter Haven and Feeding Tampa Bay will be partnering up for a mobile food pantry, and that's on May 16th from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., and it's in the Jewett School of the Arts parking lot. And the last thing is that, just kind of a general note, I know that we have several staff members who have not had a day off since we closed schools on March 13th, which is 60 days ago today. We have teachers responding to emails and phone calls from students and parents at every hour of the day, well beyond their 3 required office hours. Our custodians have been detailing our campuses. Staff members have been hand delivering packets where access is an issue. Schools are doing parades and delivering personalized signs to students all over the county. Our staff is working so incredibly hard, and it cannot and should not be understated. Thank you for all that you're doing to help our kids. And that concludes my report.
Thank you so much, Ms. Reynolds. That was an awesome report. Ms. Fields.
Thank you. I was going to say some of the same things that Sarah Beth has said, so I'm not going to repeat. But I would say that I want to thank all of the employees that have done an amazing job on making sure that our students' needs have been met over this pandemic, and the sacrifices that each of them have been making and will continue to make, I'm sure, and we're very thankful for that. It kind of goes back to what Sarah Beth said about when some of us were at home, comfortable in our own homes doing the crisis mode. A lot of our staff were not at home. They were out and they were doing the heavy lifting work, and they know who they are, and we want to thank them for that. They have had some of their loved ones that are actually health care workers and they're first responders, and they've had their lives all out of whack as well. So I just want to make sure that we all remember that and understand that. And I want to especially thank the superintendent of schools because I know it's been a heavy lift for her as well, but she's been tenacious, and she has really been, to me, a very good example for others, and she's got a great team, and can't thank her enough. And I really wanted to reiterate what Sarah Beth said about graduation. I looked at some of the YouTube videos and noticed that the graduation option video was viewed over 20,000 times. And so that to me validated the fact that it's important to the students. And I have 4 young ladies graduating that are participants of Girls Inc. They're graduating from high school, and they are very appreciative that the superintendent and her team have worked through the kinks, and they're going to ensure that they're going to be in a safe and healthy environment, and their families are very appreciative, Miss Bird, that somehow you guys have been able to work through that, and I know that on behalf of those families, they're very appreciative. And again, just thank you guys for what you do, because you do the heavy lift, and we just can't thank you enough. And that ends my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Fields. Mr. Wilson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really didn't have a report, but I would like to echo Ms. Reynolds' comments. I think, saying thank you, we can't say thank you enough to everyone for all they've done. But she did mention something, Ms. Reynolds did mention something that brought this to my mind. And I've been thinking about this recently. I'm wondering if in an upcoming workshop, we can talk about IT. I think what we're going to see moving forward is increasingly more emphasis on technology in education. I think what we're going to see in higher education are fewer face-to-face classes and more face-to-face classes using this format, Zoom. More distance-based learning and technology-based learning. And so I'm wondering if we could get an update and some sort of a report on what's happening with IT in the school district. What are their pinch points? What are their concerns? What are their challenges? What are their priorities? I think that would be helpful to us as a board in providing guidance for them. So that came to mind, and if we could do that, I would appreciate that. And that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. And your comment is so noted that we should definitely discuss that. I think that's a great idea. Thank you for bringing that up today. Mrs. Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I just want to mention real quick what Mr. Wilson had said. I've heard from a lot of teachers that they've learned great new programs and things that were available to students they didn't know about. Through technology, they've learned how to use some of these platforms. And in K-12, you're never going to replicate what we do in the classroom. But if we would concentrate a little bit more of our professional development on these actual, the tech items, I think some of our teachers would really appreciate more knowledge, because they've learned so much in this short amount of time, because that's what they are. They're superstars that do that. And along with what we did today with DMG, Sarah Beth mentioned one of our staff members who always goes over and beyond for a community, but at home she has a child with significant developmental disabilities. And so I think that's even more of her character to give to others. But we need to remember those kids today who are struggling, and we will have a lot of work to do in the fall to get them even back. And I talk to those parents, and some of them are teachers, like the person she mentioned, and we need to keep that in mind when we're talking about what the fall is going to look like. The DMG report that came out today, I think listed things that some of us in the community already knew. A lot of staff, it was the things they've been saying. So I'm really excited to see the timeline of how the district will take some of those challenges on. Adding a support person, I think is my goal, to see someone who can be at an executive level for all staff, not just ESE, but really making sure we're making the connections between gen ed and ESE services. But my report is short tonight. I'm going to let you go ahead, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. Some great points you had, and I think after seeing the report that was given to us today, I think like Ms. Fields said, we're at good, and I think we have the potential to be great, and we're just going to have to do it step by step and make those decisions as we go for all of our children. So thank you for your comment. Okay, I have a few comments as well this evening. I want to start off by saying that our students, parents, and teachers continue to amaze me. The kids have remained committed to learning and have adapted to this ever-changing distance learning environment. Our parents have taken on new roles to help support their students at different places in their educational journey. With a wide variety of online platforms, our teachers have reinvented education and done an awesome job doing so. Kudos to our students, parents, and teachers for your time and talent during these totally unprecedented times. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about graduation. I would like to say a heartfelt thank you to those who have worked tirelessly to ensure that our class of 2020 seniors have the opportunity to walk for their graduation. District staff emailed each senior a survey listing several options for graduation. They could select from a virtual graduation, a drive-by graduation, or a postponed graduation in June or July. Polk County seniors overwhelmingly responded that they would prefer a postponed in-person graduation. So I would like to acknowledge the following people who made our seniors' dream become a reality. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Ron Myers, Director of Florida Operations for the Detroit Tigers, and to Mr. Bob Donahue, Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of Lakeland. They will be hosting all of our graduations at Publix Field at Joker Marchant Stadium. Senior graduations will be held daily from Saturday, June 6th through Saturday, June 20th. I would like to extend a special appreciation to Publix Charities for their support of our class of 2020. I would also like to recognize Mrs. Tammy Dawson, Regional Assistant Superintendent for High Schools, for spearheading the graduation project for our school district. Furthermore, I am truly grateful for our high school principals. What a group of dedicated individuals who have previewed the stadium on numerous occasions, made recommendations, and have wholeheartedly supported having graduations to recognize their seniors. Most importantly, we all know that leadership in any organization starts at the top. Superintendent Byrd, thank you on behalf of the senior class of 2020. Your unwavering commitment to recognize our seniors with live graduations is so very appreciated. So many students and parents have reached out to me saying how much this gesture means to them. Once again, thank you, Mrs. Byrd, so much for all you do for our students. Once again, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to all of our staff, custodians, cafeteria workers, bus drivers, maintenance personnel, teachers, paras, counselors, secretaries, IT coordinators, specialists, administrators, and our district staff for the role that each of you have played in taking care of our students during this time. You are amazing, and I cannot say that enough. I am so incredibly proud to be a part of our Polk County Public Schools family. Additionally, I would like to extend my sincerest congratulations to all the Silver Garland nominees and winners. What a prestigious honor to be nominated from your high school. I am so very proud of these outstanding seniors, and I look forward to seeing what the future will hold for many of them that we know personally. Thank you to the Ledger Media Group for sponsoring this amazing event for over 44 years. Thank you so much. And that concludes my comments this evening. The next item on our agenda is public comments addressing items that were not on the agenda. I understand Mrs. Worthington is going to be reading those into the public record. From those that came in earlier today, a lot of them are questions, and I'm not certain that we're going to be able to answer all those this evening, but we will read that into the public record. And as things unfold, we will hopefully be continuing to put information on our website. You can always refer to polkschoolsfl.com for the latest information on our schools. So, Mrs. Worthington, is there anyone that has submitted comments regarding items that were not on our agenda today?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. If you please be kind if you can and put their name, address, and comments into the record.
Yes, ma'am. Our first comment is from Sergeant Bailey at 4244 US Highway 98 North, Lakeland, Florida. Good morning. My name is Sergeant Bailey, and I am an Army recruiter in the Lakeland, Polk County area. I wanted to inquire about the high school graduation adjustments that will be made due to COVID-19 and how it will affect our high school seniors. Many of the seniors that I work with have already signed contracts that are solely based on them graduating. My question is, with their graduation ceremonies being postponed, when will they receive their diplomas? Also, how will these changes affect them if they have dates scheduled for basic training that will begin in late May, beginning of June? My concern is that they may not be able to participate in a late graduation or may have to renegotiate the contracts that they have currently. I understand that there are a lot of variables and unknowns. However, I would like to be able to assure them that they will have the opportunity to both have their diploma and be employed with the U.S. Army post-graduation. Thank you in advance, and I look forward to hearing from you. Sergeant Bailey.
Before you continue, Mrs. Worthington, we did get some discussion amongst the board here, whether or not staff will be replying to these questions. These are wonderful questions that the sergeant has presented to us today, and very important ones. And Superintendent Byrd has assured us that staff will be responding to these emails so that everybody knows what's going on. All right, Mrs. Worthington, would you continue, please?
Yes, ma'am. The next comment is from Elspeth Bellflower, M.E. Bellflower. Chairman, what is the plan for opening or not opening schools in August? How are you going to protect our children? Will you supply masks? How will you make students wear them while at school? How will you keep social distancing in hallways, locker rooms, in lunchrooms, in classrooms? Have you purchased enough supplies to decontaminate each facility each night? I would rather open with distance learning and wait for a vaccine in September. Thank you. Our next comment is from Jamie Melendez. As a parent of a student that wanted to transfer, we never got a phone call or email. When we called, we were told that it closed early this year. That is not fair to parents. If the students were in school, they would have known about this. How is this fair to them? My child would like to go to another school. Our next comment is from Rachel Block. Is there no possible way to request more tickets, like if some families or students opt out of going to graduation? Also, is there a possibility graduation still may be moved further back? I'm very grateful that we still get a real graduation, and I don't want to complain. I just have questions. Our next comment comes from Kelly Ivy, 4101 Shoal Green Court, Winter Haven, Florida. Dear Jacqueline M. Byrd and Polk County School Board members, I am writing to you regarding the survey sent to high school seniors and the decision to hold formal graduation ceremonies at Joker Marchant Stadium in Lakeland. First, I want to express my gratitude for your efforts in asking the students for their opinion and attempting to put a ceremony in place that met their overwhelming vote. The concern came after the written and verbal announcements on YouTube were made by your board. At the time they voted, graduating seniors were unaware of the excessive restrictions placed on their ceremony deemed to be postponed. While they considered the possibility that the ceremonies would need to be held outside, they may have to maintain an acceptable social distance during the ceremony and limit the number of guests in attendance. They were unaware of the additional requirements that would be placed upon them, namely the absolute requirement to wear a mask during their ceremony and that it would not be held at their high school's home football field. Furthermore, the requirement of having the graduates stand for the hour-long ceremony in the heat of Florida summer while wearing a mask around their nose and mouth while maintaining social distance is excessive, ineffective, and in some cases may be dangerous. And this brings us to taking a temporal temperature readings before entering. Keep in mind the summer heat in Florida, the fact that temporal temperature readings are not always accurate, and the fact someone could be carrying the virus before they begin to run a fever. Does this make sense? Your survey gave the impression to graduates that a postponement meant they could have a formal ceremony if they opted to wait until it was safe. The class of 2020 are wise and fully aware there may still be some minor requirements in place even with a postponed ceremony, so everyone is safe. However, your board has decided to place the most extreme restrictions on these seniors at a time when Florida will be reopened for business. I have read the guidelines and they do not require masks. Even during phase one, the recommendation to wear a face mask is only while inside and in close proximity. The postponement of graduation, and even then having it outside and maintaining at least 6 feet social distance, meet those requirements. Your authoritarian restrictions defeat the entire purpose you are looking to achieve. Graduates feel as if they were tricked during the survey. Had they known of these severe and ineffective restrictions that would be attached to a postponed graduation ceremony, most would not have voted for this option. This is not about being grateful for anything during this time. Of course, no one would argue that there are many positives during this pandemic, and your efforts are appreciated. This is concerning your restrictions that are ineffective and frankly totalitarian in nature. Is that what we want the graduating class of 2020 to remember? More importantly, is that what Polk County School Board members want to teach our next generation? To live in fear and succumb to groupthink over facts and numbers that do not line up with reality, and oppressive power under the guise of keeping everyone safe. Common sense must regain control. I urge you to reconsider. After all, isn't it too far out at this point to put those heavy-handed restrictions in place? I look forward to another YouTube video retracting most of these restrictions or further postponement of the graduation ceremonies to a time when these seniors can actually have a formal graduation ceremony. Sincerely, Kelly Ivy. Our next comment comes from Lisa Willman, 3621 Queens Cove Boulevard, Winter Haven, Florida. Dear school board members and Superintendent Byrd, I trust that you have been planning for the opening of the school year. One scenario mentioned in the media is to postpone the beginning of the school year until after Labor Day. In that event, will faculty and staff not be paid for the month of August? My husband and I are both teachers in Polk County. This would create an immense financial strain on our family. And that again is Lisa Willman, a parent of an LRHS student and teacher at Mulberry High School. Our next comment comes from Jacqueline Royster. Are schools going to reopen in August, or will the online education continue? I don't have a last name for our next comment, but it's regarding community service hours, and it's from Liz. My question is, what options will the seniors have to complete their community service hours, since most of the approved nonprofit organizations have been closed due to the coronavirus, and his school is refusing to accept 40 hours he completed helping out neighbors with many chores voluntarily. The deadline to complete the hours is around the corner, and there is no way these kids will be able to do so. They should be granted an extension or maybe some kind of waiver, since it is not fair to penalize these kids with everything that is going on. Thank you. Our next comment is from Tawny Simon regarding PEF scholarships. Hello. Please release updated information regarding the Polk Education Foundation 2019-2020 scholarships for seniors. The seniors in Polk County have been robbed of so many things. Please don't let this be another. I personally have called PEF multiple times only to get the runaround when the call is answered from an employee stating random excuses like the lady who usually handles it is on quarantine. She has kids at home. She's trying to homeschool them. There's hiccups with some of the scholarships. Some organizations haven't completed the selection process. It will be end of May. It will be June. Students who win something will be notified via mail, etc. This is all excuses. All of this is usually completed prior to what should be awards night, and many things have gone forward during the COVID crisis. I don't think this should be that far behind. The seniors and their families deserve a straight answer. All information should be posted and continue to be updated on the school board website as well as social media. Thank you. Our next comment is from Sonia Brinson. Are the graduates allowed to wear their own personal face masks that are made of fabric instead of the ones being issued? The next comment is from Fanny Farmer, located at Lime Drive in Winter Haven. Will there be any discussion regarding next school year tonight? Some students are really hoping to learn some good news soon regarding the next school year. Even though my student has done great with the distance learning, she's hoping to get back into the classroom and actually be taught and see her friends. Since Winter Haven High School has moved to distant learning, she's in the Cambridge program. Her studies have all been independent study. None of the teachers have done any kind of actual teaching. They simply send emails with videos or chapters to read and assignments. This is not feasible for a long-term solution for the level of classes she is taking. If you could please let us know when a decision will be made, so if need be, we can make alternate arrangements for her continued success. Thank you. The next comment is from Mary Domery. She's an RN. Please explain how you can plan these events while the state is still under a ban on public gatherings and while Florida is still experiencing a rise in the number of COVID cases. No 14-day decrease is as is recommended by the NIH, CDC, White House Task Force. And that was in regards to graduation ceremonies. Our next comment is from Larry Milhorn, President, AFSCME Local 2227. Superintendent and board members, I would like to thank all the employees of the Polk County Public Schools. During this pandemic, everyone has stepped up. Food nutrition, bus drivers and bus attendants, custodial staff, warehouse staff, maintenance, teachers, paras, mechanics, district staff, school secretaries, school administration, upper and lower management, and you, the superintendent and her staff, and the school board members. I tell you this because it takes all of us working as a team to get through times like this. No matter what the budget ends up, all these employees are important to the district, and we cannot afford to lose one of them. All of us do this to make our students first. Thank you. Our next comment is from Sylvie Trudeau regarding the school year 2020-2021 calendar. Thank you in advance for all that you do. Is there a possibility that the school year starts earlier than August 10th? If so, when will the date be announced? The next comment is from Bob Nickel. Services for ESE inclusion students are not being provided because we're constantly being pulled to cover other classes when a sub isn't available. Our next comment is in regards to graduation from Lee Harris. I am writing you today to express my displeasure over the current proposed high school graduation proceedings. While I understand and respect the current unknown and changing situation we are experiencing, I feel that the planned graduation is falling short of what the students and their families deserve. I know that social distancing is required, but limiting the students that attend Harrison School for the Arts to only 4 guests is extreme considering there are only 119 seniors in their graduating class. That graduation would have less than 700 people, including students, staff, and guests. That is less than 8% capacity of Joker Marchant Stadium, which seats 8,500. This is well below the 25% acceptable capacity for indoors. Plus, this is an outside venue which allows for 6-foot social distancing. Also, I don't feel the students' guests should be required to have 6 feet between them, since they are mostly families living in the same households. I feel it would be acceptable to allow each family to have a row of seats with 2 open rows between them. Then each family can decide if they want to use all of the seats in their row or if they want to stay 6 feet apart from their guests. They can use the seats in their row as they wish. These seniors and families have worked extremely hard throughout their entire 13 years of school. I feel they deserve to have the people that supported them throughout the process watch them walk across the stage. Thank you for your consideration. Our next comment comes from Sarah Frederick, Oxford Drive, Winter Haven. It's in regards to the work session item on DMG. Thank you, board members, for taking my comment. I was very encouraged by the recommendations and the questions asked by the board members. The community appreciates the commitment to our students. You should also know the community expects the district to walk, not crawl, into the implementation of these recommendations. If we focus on universal design and best practice, I have no doubt we will see success. Also, school administrators must understand they are liable for all students. We cannot accept working in silos any longer. Superintendent Byrd supports the DMG report, so the priorities should trickle down quickly. Another comment in regards to item 1, the DMG at the work session from Patricia Arvizu at 12516 Rock Ridge Road in Lakeland. As the parent of a child in ESE, I've said time and time again that communication has always been one of the biggest issues I have encountered, especially when your child is nonverbal like mine is. Year after year, I've been outspoken to have a school parent liaison in order to help our new incoming families or even returning families navigate the world that is special education, from the ones who have already walked down that path. Year after year, admin says no, and yet year after year, I continue to help more families who seek help for their children's education. People who have zero personal connection with the world of special needs will never understand what we go through. Regardless of diagnosis, we understand each other, and that's all we need. The need to be felt, understood, and listened to. Collaboration and clear communication is what we need more of. Thank you. This comment comes from Laura Sawyer in Lakeland. Number 1, I watched today's work session. In a time when budgets may be cut, it is especially important to look at funds that are being wasted. The taxpayers are paying Ms. Dodge and Neola for duties that overlap at least somewhat. Why is this the case? This district continues to pay 6-digit salaries to many employees at the district office that are nothing more than a waste of taxpayer funds. Number 2, I continue to be frustrated at how some board members and some staff members look inconvenienced throughout meetings, especially when there is any type of pushback by other board members. This continues to seem to be an issue with non-elected leadership as well as the long-term board members. Number 3, once again, during today's work session, there was continued poor modeling of social distancing when Ms. Dodge was receiving assistance from another staff member with no face covering. This also occurred at the beginning of Mr. Perrone's presentation. During this pandemic, it is important that the district acts as a leader and role model instead of continuing to show instances like this and to post pictures of events where several staff members are in close proximity to each other without even wearing face coverings. Number 4, the graduation announcement is another example of leadership's complete lack of understanding of the spread of coronavirus. Taking temperatures and wearing face coverings at graduation are simply actions to give attendees a false sense of security. The City of Lakeland and Detroit Tigers should not allow these graduations since they are a huge legal liability. True leadership would not have sent out a survey to ask students about graduation options. Once again, why are taxpayers paying six-digit salaries to administrators such as the superintendent who have repeatedly proven to be incapable of making decisions and obviously incompetent? Number 5, there is so much that occurs in this district that would never be tolerated in the private sector, such as allowing the health insurance plan to go into a huge deficit at the expense of employees, or when the district lost millions of dollars due to inadequate oversight of investments being handled by an outside financial advisor. Why was the CFO not held responsible for this? Why has this district hired individuals that were demoted in their previous position in Duval County, as well as other employees that had obvious red flags in their prior positions? In closing, I hope that the voters of Polk County will find alternative candidates to replace the tenured board members that are oblivious to the needs of this district so that this district can actually serve students well and be good stewards of taxpayer money. Laura Sawyer. This item did come in late, almost 5 o'clock. It is in regards to the HR recommendations for administrative and instructional personnel. The comment is from Stephanie Yoakum, President, Polk Education Association. Good evening. Today I am addressing agenda item 16, HR recommendations for administrative and instructional personnel actions. On this evening's personnel actions, there are several teachers who have had probationary contracts terminated by school-based administrators and now presented to you, our elected board, to vote on their finalized termination. You can expect there to be more terminated probationary contracts on the personnel actions next meeting, as tomorrow is the district deadline for principals to notify probationary contract teachers if their contract will be terminated. PEA understands that under Florida statute, employers in our state can terminate an employee under a probationary contract for no cause. But we feel like giving principals the complete autonomy in the decision to terminate is resulting in Polk Public Schools losing effective teachers. Just because Florida statute says a policy is permissible doesn't mean Polk can't address probationary contract terminations through contract language and board policy that gives more oversight to a principal's decision to terminate. The superintendent has the authority to override a principal's decision, but that termination is rarely challenged and our students lose in the end. If the district can decide to do the right thing by giving probationary teachers notice of termination by a time certain at the end of the school year, we can also do the right thing by discussing some oversight protections for our probationary teachers before their termination is finalized. This has been a hot topic in the last 2 board meetings in particular, and we believe it's time to discuss how Polk can be a leader to retain effective teachers. We have been looking at the evaluations and discipline records of terminated probationary employees and overwhelmingly have found that many of these teachers have no issued discipline and overall effective and highly effective evaluations. If there were evaluation concerns noted by principals, the issues were predominantly classroom management issues with first-year teachers. Seasoned, veteran teachers know and understand that mastering classroom management takes years and is always evolving with each group of students. Many teachers need time to develop their own classroom management styles and other areas of instructions. And it does no one justice to let a teacher go because they need time to develop in their profession. Turnover in general costs the district money and resources every year, and it's time to look at how Polk handles probationary teacher contracts. Thank you. And I did have Another comment come in to the mailbox that I need to read. This comment is from Anita Carson from Davenport, Florida. With the detailed ESC report that is on the agenda today, I hope that the board is more aware of how understaffed we are in student services. School psychologists, school social workers, school mental health workers, and school counselors are taking on so many different jobs, they lack time to truly spend with their students and instead end up working on papers that keep us in compliance. While I desperately want our students' plans and needs to be met, I would like people providing those services to spend time providing service and less time documenting it. Also, compared to other counties, our county runs lean on ESE teachers. Our ESE teachers and paras are so few that school staff often end up asking in 504 and IEP meetings, what services can we realistically provide to this student? A much better question would be, what services does the student need? And then work on providing those services. I hope moving forward, the staffing plans will begin to reflect positive changes to student services so that we can more fully provide the special education, mental health, and social and emotional support our students need to be successful. Thank you for your time. And that completes our public comments.
Thank you, Mrs. Worthington. Appreciate that. And let me just note again to all of those that provided comments tonight. A lot of them are questions and good ones. And our staff is going to be reviewing those and hopefully responding appropriately. So we appreciate you taking the time to email us your comments and questions this evening. Okay, is there anything else, board members, that anyone wishes to discuss this evening? If not, the next order of business is adjournment. Board members, there being no further business, this meeting of the Polk County School Board is now adjourned. Thank you very much and have a great evening, everyone.